Uh, Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Thank you.
I, on behalf of Beyond Law CLC and UIRS Punjab University Chandigarh, welcome you all to our continuous sessions and webinars, which we are taking on all different issues so that all professionals could enhance their knowledge. And today, in an endeavor, we thought that we have discussed a lot of law, which is ordinarily required for a lawyer, student, and a professor to be understood. But if we could have another edge to that by having how to increase our values, peace, and ethics, we thought that we could not have a better speaker than on this issue. And on this subject, if we examine it, that we find that Professor K. Parameswaran is a man who is well recognized within this field. He has been teaching, and he's an associate professor in GNLU and has been a member governing board, Aeroville Foundation, Government of India, MHRD and UNESCO, World Commission on Environmental Law, International Consortium for Law and Religion. He has pioneered many ways of teaching, and his subjects have been given a different flavor, I would say, though on studies we don't generally use this subject tenor. But he personally feels, and he has tried to inculcate amongst the students, maybe students of law, or in the corporate law, the professional, the lawyers, the corporate houses, as to how the spiritual values should be inculcated for law, justice, governance, and values in education. His seminars, webinars, and teachings are well received not only in India, but they are also well received within the world. He's pioneer in giving different insights in the way of teaching. Amongst us, we have Mr. Deepak Bajaj, who is a good friend of ours. Plus, he also takes classes, not only for the subordinate judiciary, as well as the higher judiciary. And we feel quite proud that the students who have studied from Deepak Bajaj also have done exceedingly well, and many of them have become themselves as officers in the subordinate judiciary as well as higher judiciary. So we thought that a professor should be welcomed by a friend who himself is teaching into it. I just asked Deepak Bajaj to formally welcome you. Over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. I, on behalf of Beyond Law CLC, welcome Dr. K. Parameswaran on board, who is a professor in Gujarat National Law University. And sir is here to speak on very important topic, that is higher values, peace and ethics in profession. The role of a lawyer is not only confined to law, it is much beyond that. Here I am reminded of a very important judgment passed by Honorable Supreme Court in the case of Raman Services versus Subhash Kapoor, which was reported in All India Reporter 2001 Supreme Court, page number 207. I'll just like to read few lines. Honorable Supreme Court held, persons belonging to legal profession are consideredly the elite of the society. They have always been in the vanguard of progress and development of not only law, but the polity as a whole. Citizens looks at them with hope and expectations for transferring on the new path and virgin fields to be marched on by the society. The profession by and large till date has undoubtedly performed its duties and obligations. So the role of a lawyer is much beyond that, and I am sure that with the presence of Dr. Parameswaran on board, our legal fraternity will learn a lot of things, and a new areas and a scope will be enlarged. Thank you very much, sir, on being a part of this today's discussion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So greetings and namaste to each and everyone who is present for today's webinar. I am very happy and I thank all of you for having participated in this wonderful webinar series. And I thank immensely our beloved colleague, Shri Vikas Chatterjee, and our dear professor who just spoke, Dr. Professor Deepak Bajaj, the Beyond Law CLC and the Punjab University in association with that. This whole webinar series is being organized. I thank each and every one of you for having facilitated and for having invited me for this. The title for today's webinar, Higher Values, Ethics and Peace in Profession, is something very important, and I would say something very indispensable. We all know that we are in a situation of COVID-19 that has sparked us to an unprecedented situation, as a result of which each and every profession around the world is going to undergo a sea of change. And India is a country which is having a lot of aspirational and developmental agendas, as a result of which the role of profession, not only legal profession, but also each and every profession, is going to have immense importance. It is at this juncture when Mr. Vikas Chatterjee called me and told that we have an initiative called Beyond Law, and we have invited so many people to discuss these kind of things. I said, yes, this is a very great initiative, and I appreciated him and the whole board and the team around him who have coined this very beautifully, Beyond Law. To me, this means, Beyond Law means to go beyond the conventional, to go beyond the traditional, to go beyond the conservative, and to approach the modern and the future India, which we all are eagerly awaiting to tap. So Beyond Law and CLC and Punjab University and this whole initiative and the title is so appropriate that this is the best that can happen. Now coming back to the title, Higher Values, Peace and Ethics. There are three terminologies involved in this: the values, the peace and ethics. Now, when we say that higher values, peace and ethics to be applied in profession across all disciplines and various practices, a question that naturally comes to our mind is that, what are the current values which are there? Are they applicable? Are they enough? Are they sufficient? Or are they wrong? For that, we need to know what are the current values which are dominating the profession across all disciplines. If I can make it simply, the current value system that are dominating all kinds of professions are 4 in number. 1, the predominant social value. 2, the economic value. And 3, the individualistic value. And 4, the personal value. These are the 4 values which are predominating the legal profession as well as each and every profession. Are these sufficient? Obviously not. Why? It's precisely because a particular situation of this kind, an unprecedented kind, has necessitated a new situation for all of us. As a result of which, we need to rethink and re-engineer all the value systems that are there, which are operating currently all kinds of professions. This makes us think that what is it that we call it is a profession? What is it that we call the values that are there in each and every profession? To put it very simply, any profession you take, be it legal profession, medical profession, chartered accountancy, be it profession that deals with sciences, be it profession that deals with medical, be it professions that deals with social aspects and so on, whatever be the nature of the profession, the practice. There are 3 elements to it. What are they? 1, a profession means a specialized knowledge. 2, a specialized skill which applies that specialized knowledge. And 3, a specialized training that is being given to that particular professional who is going to take that particular profession. And all these are in a modern, a structured, and a formal system. When it is adopted in the profession, it becomes a profession. That's why you see the modern profession is very highly regulated right now. So a specialized knowledge, a specialized skill, a specialized training, all these define a particular profession. And the modern profession across all disciplines, they all have their regulatory methods and so on. But they are not enough. They are not sufficient, whatever be the nature of the regulations that we put. Because after a point of time, it is the human consciousness, it is the human awareness which needs to bring in a new value system. Because values are intangible things, but they are going to impact the human context. Values are conscious mindfulness, which is going to impact our thinking, which is going to impact our emotional quotient, which is going to impact our empathy at the social level, and which is going to bring a practical dimension of applying all these things on a daily basis at a profession. So if you see the whole gamut of it, the profession, the specialist knowledge, the specialist skill, the specialist training, in a formal structured way, has these things. Now, why higher values, ethics, and peace should be inculcated in profession? Why not in any other things other than a profession? It's because profession is very different from other walks of practices. It is because of these three essential ingredients, which are the specialist knowledge, the specialist skill, the specialist. As a result of which, the client who comes to you, whatever be the nature of the issue, or whomsoever is the client, or whatever be the professional, be it legal, medical, whatever be it, whomsoever is coming to you for a particular service, he comes to you precisely because the professional has that particular profession in which a specialized knowledge, a specialized skill, and a specialized training is there, which he cannot get it from anyone else. So the nature of relationship between the client and the professional, the nature of relationship between the person who is coming to your office as a client and the professional who is sitting in a particular professional setup in an office, that particular nature of interrelationship is built on these three foundations of specialist skill, specialist knowledge, and specialist training. As a result of which, the interrelationship between a professional and a client acquires 4 different dimensions. What are those? Very simple. The professional who is going to render some kind of a service to a client, and the knowledge which he is going to use, and the skill which he is going to use, and the service he is going to make, it is very complex in dimension. And the knowledge which he possesses is very special. As a result of which, the client who comes to a particular professional, the relationship with that, it involves or revolves around a complex knowledge system, which nobody else can easily know. It is not that there is a law book, it is not that there is a medical book which anybody can read and practice. Not possible. Information is there, but the information to be converted into a knowledge, it requires a special skill and a special training, as a result of which a client cannot go to anyone else except a trained professional, except a skilled professional, except a personal professional who has a specific body of knowledge, whatever be the nature of the profession, across all disciplines. So this creates a complex network of relationships between the individual who is a client on one side and professional on the other side. This is the first thing, the complexity of knowledge. Second, when a client comes to a particular professional, he has a context. He is not just like that coming to you. He is not that he just wants to know what you are doing. He has a need. He has a certain expectation from the professional of how this particular problem can be resolved. He comes to a professional to seek a remedy he comes to a professional to seek a relief. He comes to a professional to seek some kind of a solution. That particular context only client knows. So client has to explain very clearly to a professional what his questions are, what his demands are. So this context between the client and the professional acquires a second degree in the interrelationship. Third, a professional who listens to a particular client, he takes all that the client tells him. As a result of which, a professional understands the context and the complexity of the knowledge which he is going to apply, depends upon the cause of action which a particular client explains. You have no other scope to know anything more than what the client is going to say. So there is a specific context, there is a specific cause he comes with before a professional. As a result of which, again, as I have said, the relationship, the interrelationship between the professional and the client becomes very serious and very complex. It becomes very important. Adding to these all the three things, the complexity of the knowledge, 2, the context involved, and 3, the cause a particular client explains. The most important thing is that the cost that is involved in the cause, which the professional is going to deal with, and which the client is going to agree or not agree with. Because everything revolves around money, everything revolves around a particular cause of action in which human energies are involved, time is involved, money is involved, management of things are involved, human seeking is involved, search and seeking of self-satisfaction is involved, happiness is involved. There are so many things which are involved in that. So this interrelationship between the professional and the client, in which the complexity of the knowledge which the professional has, which the client doesn't have, the context with which they both are going to discuss how to proceed about, and the various factors as causes which the client is going to explain, and the cost which is involved in this case, makes both the client as well as the professional very intense in sharing their responsibilities. When a client comes to a professional, he comes with a huge emotion. He comes with a huge dilemma. He comes with a huge monetary stake involved. He comes with a huge understanding or not understanding of the issues that are involved. How can we solve all these things if the professional is not having higher values, if the professional is not having peace, if the professional is not having ethics? The current value system which is operating the profession across all disciplines, the social, the economic, the individual and the personal, they are fine, good, not a problem at all. But it is not sufficient. If we want all professionals to go to the next stage, if we want all professionals to take the aspirational India, the developmental agendas of India, each and every professional, each and every profession has a huge responsibility, and that huge responsibility cannot just start only with the socio-economic individual personal understanding of the issues. You need to understand something else. You need to understand much more. What are those? Very simple. Those are the things which I call the higher values involved. Those are the things in which the peace which the professional has in his approach, in his relation with the client matters. And the ethics, the ethical way of dealing with it. Now you can see very well, very clearly, the context, the relevance, the indispensability of why and how higher values, peace and ethics are very important for profession, not only legal profession, but across all professions. Because a client who is coming to the professional, he has his own stakes, monetary, time, which is limited, the money which is limited, the energy which is limited, and he has an obligation in the society, there is a legal obligation, all those things. And he is going to come to you with huge baggage of angst, with huge baggage of dilemmas, confusions, stress, and so on. If the professional is not going to deal with the client in a very peaceful way, if the professional is not going to employ higher values in his dealing with the client, if the professional is not going to have ethical understanding of how to deal with this, it will be very difficult. Especially the context in which we are in, the aspirational India, the developmental India, and the new challenges which the COVID-19 has posed for us. This is exactly where I feel the relevance and the importance and the application, the practical application of higher values, the practical application of peace, the practical application of ethics in our profession, whatever that we do. Here, I would like to show a simple slide by which we will start analyzing what are the various higher values that are there available for a professional, how we have to employ it in our profession, how to connect that with a client, and how to make the individual life, the social life, the corporate life, the professional life, and above all, the whole national life as a beautiful, productive, prosperous for each and every one. This gives the practical application of higher values, peace and ethics. Kindly see this slide, a very important slide. Can you enable the screen sharing, please, if you don't mind?
Enable the screen sharing. Done. You can do that.
Yeah. Are you able to see this?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. You see this? Higher values, peace, and ethics in profession. What do we mean by the term higher values, peace, and ethics in profession, and how are we going to do that? Keep in mind, the current existing values are the values which we already know, that are there, which is there in our mind, that are there, which is there in our emotions, that are there in our senses, that are there in our body. As I have explained, these values have certain positives and certain negatives. Positives are those in which whatever that you can do to your profession, a particular service to a client, you can make use of it. But the negatives are such that these values are insufficient. We need more. That's exactly where we need to tap higher values. The higher values in any profession, the peace values in any profession, the ethical values in any profession consists of this particular tabular chart which I have shown. If you see this, you can very easily analyze the normal mind and the faculty of thinking which is there, which a particular professional has. When a particular client comes to the professional and wants to know and wants to find out how to solve a problem, unless and until the professional is peaceful in nature. What do we mean by the term peaceful in nature? Take the example of a doctor. You go to a doctor with a pain in your stomach. Doctor doesn't feel the pain. When doctor is going to perform an operation, he is not going to get scared. He deals with the operation, he deals with the patient with a solid peace of mind, in which knowledge is also involved. He is not suffering. It is only the patient who is suffering. So he understands the patient's suffering. He understands the client's requirement. As a result of which, he is able to witness what is happening to him, and he is able to comprehend what is happening. And the ethical value of it is, you need to think, you need to interpret, you need to give an opinion. And that's exactly where the knowledge develops and the issues become very clear. To put it back very clearly, the mind which is there and the peace which we are going to apply, which we are getting it from the higher values, is nothing but witnessing the problem. Because when you are involved in a particular problem, you will not be able to solve that problem. I think some kind of disturbances are coming.
You will have to stop the annotation from your end.
So,
while the screen sharing on the right side, you will find that the annotation can be stopped. And you can also erase it out. You can re-upload the slide.
Yeah.
It will automatically go. Yes. You can start the slide.
is it clear now?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we see is a professional needs to be very peaceful. What we mean by peacefulness is that he is able to witness things. He is not part of the problem. If you also start suffering, if you also start becoming emotional and sentimental like the client who is coming to you for seeking a remedy, seeking a relief, you will not be able to solve the problem. So you need to witness, you need to step back, and that is exactly what the peace is all about. And you need to comprehend what the client is actually explaining, what he wants. As a result of which, the ethical value is the proper thinking, a proper interpretation, a proper opinion. Because if you get involved in the problem, your thinking gets disturbed. If you get involved in the client's emotion and his sentiments and his pain of explaining things and his pain and fear of losing things, you will lose the independent opinion. You will not be able to interpret a particular provision, be it a law or be it a treatment or whatever be the nature of the provision. You will not be able to clearly understand which knowledge is to be applied for what issue. You understand how important it is? We all have a mind, but we don't have peace. That peace is the higher value which a professional must possess at first, without fail. And the peace is nothing but witnessing and comprehending. As a result of which, you are able to distance yourself from the client, yet you are able to understand and witness what is happening to the client and comprehend what are the issues which he is going through. And you are able to, as a result of which, think clearly, interpret his questions clearly, and the opinion which you are going to give is going to matter a lot. This is exactly where the knowledge and understanding of the issue comes. I have seen many times in many big professionals, be it doctors or advocates. The client comes and suddenly jumps into things and he expresses things in a very emotional way because a particular problem is bothering him. But a clear, peaceful professional is one who is able to see things, witness, without participating in it, comprehend all the things which are there. As a result of which, you are able to independently use the thinking and interpret and give opinions. This is the first value, higher value, which a professional must possess. What is the second value he must possess? That is in relation to emotion. We normally think a human being means only mind. A human being consists of mind, emotion, sense, and body. These are the four layers which we are consisted of. Unless and until you gain strength in your emotional quotient, you will not be able to endure, you will not be able to withstand the deep emotions that are involved in a clientele cause. It is very much required. At the same time, it is this emotional strength, it is this emotional quotient which is going to give you a kind of empathy to embrace the client. So on one side, you need to be strong. On one side, you need to be dispassionate. At the same time, you need to be empathetic and enduring and withstanding the whole situation and understand. And the social value, the ethical value of it is discipline, commitment. As a result of it, you are able to connect with the client. You are able to empathize with the client. Now you see, from mind, we have gone into the emotion. With peace, we have gone into strength. With the capacity of witnessing and comprehending the client's situation, we are able to endure and withstand the client's As a result of which, we are able to think, we are able to interpret, we are able to give opinion. We develop a whole body of knowledge, we develop a whole understanding of the issues of the clients, as a result of which we are able to dedicate and commit ourselves to resolve the particular problem. This is the second higher value which a professional must possess. Third, we all have a sense, senses. We know that we have 5 senses. What we mean by sense is the action and the reaction, the energy with which we act, the force with which we move things. That is the sense. What is the higher value we should have in that? It is of a very serious and an important thing in which you have the kindness and the goodwill, as a result of which you have the sweetness of approach. This every client knows. Every client who goes to a particular professional, he looks for kindness, he looks for goodwill. Otherwise, he will feel that the professional is not listening to me properly. He will feel that this particular professional is not empathetic to my understanding. So, from knowledge to emotional strength, we actually embrace the client's cause. We embrace the client's issues in such a way, we are very kind to him. We are having utmost goodwill to deal with things. How do we do that? At the practical level, it is the graceful acceptance of oneself and the graceful acceptance of others. It is a kind of harmony and collectivism. When a client comes to you, you ought to know how to listen. You ought to know how to understand what he is trying to explain. All this requires a state of peace of mind. All this requires a strength to endure. And above all, a certain kindness, certain goodwill, a kind of passion, a kind of grace in oneself and grace in accepting others. Immediately you feel the relationship between the client and the professional becomes very deep. The fourth higher value which a professional should possess is the action. We require peace, we require strength, we require sweetness, but we also require action. What do we mean by action at the ethical level? It is the sincerity with which we act. A client who comes to you, he should be able to feel that my professional, my boss is someone who is very committed and he is very sincere. And that sincerity can be shown only by action. Which means each and every circumstances that you are dealing with, you are encountering with, in relation to the client's cause, in relation to each and everything of the client, you need to show an opportunity which you take in order to resolve a particular problem. So, if you see, the higher values, the peace and ethics in profession is nothing but awakening in yourself by self-awareness, by mindfulness, by higher consciousness, which is other than your mind, emotion and sense and body, which are currently operating, in which you slowly put your peace, in which you slowly bring your strength, in which you slowly add the sweetness, in which you slowly add the action. And when you combine all these things at the mental level, emotional level, sensory level and body level, with an element of peace, with an element of strength, with an element of sweetness and action, you are able to see things in a very different way. This brings a fundamental transformational shift from an ordinary personality to a rare personality. The professional all of a sudden realizes that he gets into a core personality of himself, which is other than what he so far thought of, the mental, the emotional, the senses, and the body. Now he feels his mind is working, but it is working with peace. His emotions are acting, but it is strong, not weak. His senses are active and reacting, but with kindness and goodwill and sweetness. And his body is withstanding everything and he is able to act. In which each and every circumstance, each and every opportunity is taken into consideration for perfection and progress. So this kind of a higher value which needed to be injected in a profession consists of these four qualities which needs to be very seriously thought of. So far we have acted with certain value systems which are largely social and economic, individual and personal. But we need to add something else. Those are the things which makes the professional not just individualistic but social in context. Those are the things which makes the professional collective in nature. As a result of which he is able to embrace the whole society. And the client feels confident, the client feels assured. Why a professional should do this? Why for a professional these higher values, peace and ethics are more important is precisely because he has a specialized knowledge, he has a specialized training, he has a specialized skill which he is trained formally, structured, which nobody else would be having other than a professional. And a client cannot go to any other person. As a result of which, the implementation of these higher values, peace and ethics in profession, where a certain degree of knowledge, skill, and the application of it acquires a unique space, you cannot avoid these higher values of peace, strength, sweetness, and action. And you will be able to see very clearly if the client is coming to you, witnessing and comprehending his issue, interacting with him with proper thinking, proper interpretation, proper opinion. As a result of which the whole body of knowledge which you have as information starts revolving around you. As a result of this emotion and strength in which you add the enduring and the withstanding capacity, you are able to bring passion and discipline, commitment to the work that you are doing. As a result of this sense, to which you add certain sweetness, kindness, and goodwill, you are able to be very empathetic with the client. You are able to show kindness, graceful acceptance of your own self and his own self or her own self. A unique relationship forms between the professional and the client. With all these things, peace, strength, and sweetness, at the mental level, at the emotional level, and at the sensory level, when you start acting, your work becomes flawless, error-free. And that will be a stepping stone for progress, not only for the professional at the career level, but also for the client, but also for the social and collective at a huge national level. We are precisely in this moment, at this stage. They say, we are in the brink of an evolution of something new that is. This particular situation of a crisis has necessitated this requirement of adding new values to each and every. Now, a practical aspect of it comes into the picture. These are the things which I used to teach in the professional ethics and advocacy, along with particular legal provisions from the Advocates Act as well as the Bar Council Code of Conduct and so on. People used to ask, how do we do that? We have to keep in mind the values which we are having, peace, strength, sweetness, and action. The internal qualities and the skills which are witnessing and comprehending, enduring and withstanding, kindness and goodwill, perfection and progress. These are all individual, intangible values. These are all subjective values. Unless and until a professional owns in himself or in herself, it will not come. How do we do that? How do we practice it? How do we get a connection to those higher values by which you bring peace into your mind, you bring strength into your emotion, you bring sweetness into your sense, you bring action into the body? How do we do that? For that, the next slide will be useful. The next slide. I hope you are able to see it. Yes. If you see this, There are 4 secret tips for success I used to tell to budding advocates or the legal professionals in a non-litigation zone or even other professionals and so on. All that you need to understand is that human nature or human being consists of all the 4: the mind, the emotion, the sense, and the body. You have to understand all these parts are interdependent to each other. It is not that you will practice only one and you will not take care of the other. You may do it, but you will end up losing certain things. You may be very good in giving your opinion. You may be very good in acting on a particular requirement or stage or procedure, whatever be the nature. But unless and until you empathize with the client, unless and until you gracefully accept and understand, you require all these 4: the mental quotient, the emotional quotient, the sensory quotient, the body, physical, space, and time. Only then the profession becomes complete, and it is required for profession because the kind of knowledge that a professional is possessing is a specialized knowledge with a specialized skill and a specialized training, which nobody else will have other than a professional. As a result of which, you get to see that you have to understand these 4 parts of your nature, 4 parts of your being. We all know that each and every professional has a particular development. You know, some professionals are very kind in nature, some are very quick in action, some are very quick in giving knowledge, some are very quick in giving a certain solution. But a true professional, a holistic professional, a successful professional, which is a modern future professional, is one who has all these 4 dimensions in place. All these 4 dimensions are there in harmony. So you have to start from somewhere. So identify a particular portion in you which is predominant and slowly develop the other parts. You know, I used to tell the students in my training program, all that needs to be done is on a daily basis, you take morning 15, 20 minutes or even 30 minutes. And when you go back home after the work is done, just sit quietly and give yourself a special time, space, and energy for internalizing these thoughts and higher values, peace and ethics, what you have done and how you have performed. This is how one self develops. This is how one self empowers. And this is exactly where the self-fulfillment comes. If you see all the great successful lawyers, they may be understanding all these things. They may not know these jargons. They may not be knowing these terminologies, but they more or less understand these things. They go back home or when they get back to work or when they start from their home, back to office or any other important thing that they do, their mind, their emotion, their body, their senses, they run in 100 kilometers speed. They know that. So which means they are internalizing, they are visualizing all these in their own consciousness, in their own awareness, as a result of which they become very mindful. And it gives you a lot of edge over others. And at the same time, you have to connect these higher values, peace and ethics in your professional practice on a daily basis. You know, each and every practice involves different things. Take, for example, a legal profession, which involves giving opinions, which involves drafting agreements, which involves dealing with a clientele, which involves arguing in a court of law. All these 4 things are 4 different domains of knowledge, 4 different domains of capacities that we have. I have seen advocates in high courts and other courts where certain advocates stand for 6 to 7 hours continuously and they argue, which means their body is cooperating with them. Their mind is working. All the knowledges are pouring in. At the same time, they have an empathy in the surrounding. They deal with the spontaneous issues. How do they do that? How are they able to do it? It's because there is some kind of a higher power, some kind of a higher energy, which is that it can be tapped. They can be brought back to. And if you develop all these things on a daily basis by practicing it, by taking note of these kind of things, you will be able to slowly understand these are possible and these are all the successful secret tips to develop higher values in profession, to develop peace in profession and to bring ethics in profession. So maybe I can stop here. I have 15 minutes. Shall we go for question and answer session?
So you can start. I can ask them to pose the questions if any.
Yeah. So, any other question is there?
How do you feel that one has to maintain the balance professionally and on a personal front, because both are challenging in itself as on date?
It's a very interesting question that very often I face this. People ask this. At a professional level, I am this. At a personal level, I am this. This division must go. Wherever you are, you have to understand that the human individual is one and the same. The human being is one and the same. Only the space changes. You are in the house today. You may be in the court tomorrow, or you may be in a corporate sector tomorrow, day after tomorrow. Your space changes, your location changes, your circumstances changes, but the person is one and the same. But person is one and the same means the person should have those higher values of peace, those higher values of emotional quotient, those higher values of strength and the readiness to act. All these are to be kept alive in oneself. So wherever he moves, be it in the house or be it in the library, be it in the court, be it in the corporate office, be it in the bank, be it in a hospital, whatever nature of circumstances that you are surrounded with, you will feel the same. This work-life balance comes precisely because we think that we can dissociate our personality with that of the profession. It is not like this. The moment you understand these deeper values, the moment you understand these higher values, you start understanding that you are only one person who is dealing with everything. You know, the best professional is one who is multidimensional in nature. The best professional is one who is doing multitasking. Lawyers are very good examples of that. You know, I come from a lawyer's family, 3 generations of lawyers. They have to do secretarial work themselves. They have to do writing. They have to do arguing. They have to talk. They have to do the advocacy. They have to do all kinds of things. Similarly, each and every professional, be it chartered accountants, medical, and so on, they do multiple things precisely because they take care of all these 4 dimensions of the human consciousness, the mindfulness of all the 4, the mind, the emotion, the body, and the senses, the peace, the strength, the sweetness, and the action. As a result of which, you will not feel any division. If you have these higher values, if I can tell you the last point is that there won't be any fatigue. If there is fatigue in your profession at the end of the day, that means you have concentrated on 1 or 2 portions of your being too much, and when you have come back out of it, suddenly you feel a huge fatigue. It's precisely because you have not allowed other parts of your own self, other parts of your own human being to participate.
So, how did you enter into this thing? Normally, the professor or anybody continues to do the normal course of law. How did you start developing this issue as to how the spirituality, higher value, peace, ethics should be motivated?
Yes, it is to be done on a daily basis. Number 1, it cannot be done all of a sudden. It should be done on a daily basis. And what is required is 4 things. We need to develop awareness about this knowledge of all these things. This 1 hour webinar can give a churning to your mind, can give a churning to your emotions and perceptions. But it needs to be slowly brought down into action. And in order to do that, we require some amount of knowledge. I will be sharing certain materials to all of you, which you can share. They are simple notes of how to make yourself self-conscious, self-aware. As a result of which you get to understand peace in your own mind. As a result of which you get to know the emotional quotient of your own, and you become strong, you become empathetic, and you develop new skills, you develop new action methods. So these are the things which I developed myself in my own personal journey. I used to wonder if I have to work hard, because I understood that I have a very limited energy of mind, emotion, body, and senses. But I need an unlimited energy for modern work. For the current aspirational India, we need to tap that vast universal resources, those universal energies. Have you seen this interesting observation, which we all have it? If we have a particular problem and we go to a very senior advocate or a senior doctor or a senior chartered accountant, he is able to solve the problem quickly. It's precisely because he has already handled all these issues, as a result of which he is able to solve this. Similarly, instead of going to one or two seniors, if we go to the very source, the vast universal energy which is there surrounding us, there all knowledge is there, all peace is there. There all the emotional strengths can come, empathy can come, love can, kindness can come, goodwill can come. There all the skills can come from, and you will be able to act. And you no longer feel limited, suffocating. Rather, you feel you are being carried on, and the work is happening through you. It is perfectly possible. In my training programs, this is exactly what I used to do. My training programs normally say 1 or 2 days. This is only a webinar of say 1 hour. It is basically to bring that churning in the minds, but I can share certain materials with you, and if required, in case if they come there, I can demonstrate how it can be done. But it is perfectly possible by practice.
So how do we start that journey first? Because they say that the first step is paramount for that step to become the giant step of your change of the mindset.
Yeah. First step is to start. How do we start that? Just jump into it. How do we do that? There are certain methods. One is we have a faculty called concentration. We have a faculty called visualization. We have a faculty called thinking. All that is required is you just have to sit quietly, feel for yourself that you need to develop these qualities, read up some material, some literature, some knowledge on it, and slowly connect yourself with those ideas. Slowly connect yourself with those feelings. It takes little amount of time on a daily basis. But once you start doing it, once you start experiencing it, even for a fraction of a second, you will get to realize, oh, it is something very simple, something very easy.
One more.
Yes.
Rajanjit Jora is a lawyer from Punjab Haryana High Court. He says, which a normal question does arise in the mind of any lawyer professional, how do handle if needs of the profession and ethics clash and at times contrary to each other?
Yeah.
How do you maintain the balance and how do you grow further?
Yeah, there are two things. As far as lawyering is concerned, or medical profession, or any other profession is concerned, if there is a very clear-cut legal provision, or if there is a technical provision which says yes or no, you cannot do anything about that. But where the problem comes is that where a particular provision has more than one interpretation, where it has more than 2-3 interpretations, as a result of which conflict comes. What I used to tell the advocates is that what you feel as the interpretation correct for you, you argue with that. That's all. Number one. But subject to, if the particular provision is very clear and has no ambiguous interpretation, then you cannot do anything about that. Ethics come into picture only when there is an ambiguity in the interpretation of a same provision, of a same word, or a same terminology, or a same noun. If it is very clear, you can't do anything, you just have to follow it. But where there is a possibility of an interpretation, you have to stick to your interpretation. You don't need to worry about others because you have a client in your hand. Constitution also says that each and every client needs to be represented. So that client is also part and parcel of the society, is part and parcel of this huge world, and he has his own cause of action, remedy, and the relief that he is seeking for. And if you think this is how it needs to be interpreted, then you interpret it accordingly. Nothing wrong with that. But only feeling that we have is that whether other will be able to appreciate us or not. No, it is not in our hand. We represent the case before the court. It is the judge who is deciding, and we are giving adequate reasonings to it. And if he is finding it very correct, he is taking it. Otherwise, he will not take it. We have to just give our interpretation to it. As a result of which, you can see what was Article 14 or Article 21 in the year 1950 and what it is now in 2020. You just see the provision remains the same, but the interpretation of it has gone. They have, all the interpretations have gone to such a great level that each and every situation, each and every context brings a new angle of interpretation to the same provision of law, to the same language of law. So there is no conflict. Conflict is that whether you want to do it or not. If you feel, you do it. But if the provision is clear, then you have no other go. There is another chance for this, which I used to say. Even if the provision is clear and if you think this is how the interpretation needs to be done, you can still argue. Who knows? Your argument can pave way for even amending the provision or amending the provision, or it can also bring a new thinking in the judiciary who will think differently. As a result of which a new interpretation can also be brought in.
Akshay Nagpal, what about your heart saying interpretation is not correct, but we have to take it for the client? When you know that the client is not right, then how to tackle the situation?
No, you cannot have both. It is not possible. Your mind is saying one thing, your heart is saying another thing. You just have to listen to what you want to listen to. This is another problem which we all feel. For me, feeling is most important to me. If feeling is more dense, if feeling is more intense than the mind, obviously then I will follow the feeling. For you, if mind is more stronger than the feeling, then you follow it. Whatever be the nature of the issue, whatever be the kind of client who is coming before you. If you think that this is the right position, then you argue for it, no problem. If you feel this is how it needs to be interpreted, then you go ahead. But if you are thinking and if you are feeling, if there is a contradiction between these two, whatever is higher, that you take, because that is what is going to influence you. And that is exactly what is going to influence the decision making also. You take it that way.
So Professor Preeti Saxena has posted a question, but I'm unmuting her so she can ask the question directly.
Yeah.
Professor Preeti Saxena, PRITI. Then we have Dr. Madhu also. She's from Batala.
Yeah,
we will unmute thereafter. She also wants to ask a question.
Yes, please.
So, how to deal a situation of continuous negativity at your workplace?
Oh yeah. This is also a very interesting question that comes to us very often. How to deal with a situation or in a situation which is full of continuous negativity at workplace? Simple. You start your continuous positivity from your side. Initially, it may be difficult because you are only one and the negativity is more in number. You start from your side. It actually catches. It is a very contagious thing. Like how someone's negativity has created a large network of negativity. Similarly, someone's positivity can also create a network of negativity and it will cancel that. That's the only thing. And you may have to be very clear in expressing that. You may have to bring new people into that. You may have to bring new interpretations to that, because mind also participates, mind also creates the impact, emotion also creates the impact. So you have to do at all the levels, not just only at the mental level, but also at the emotional level, but also at the skills level, sensory level, but also in the physical space. If one starts doing it at all the 4 levels, one can very easily counter the network of negativity. It is only a matter of time that the negativity will slowly subside into positivity. This is my experience that I have observed.
We are unmuting Dr. Madhu. Meanwhile, yes, Dr. Madhu. It would be by Galaxy J6. Galaxy J6. I've been told that Saxena ma'am is also there. She's the dean in the Central University. I'm just checking it.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, madam. Please.
Okay, sir. Same question. Then how to deal with negative people?
How to deal with
negative people?
Yeah.
Even we don't give damn to them. Even then, sometimes, even if we don't pay attention to them, even then we are surrounding such kind of people which actually interrupt us. Then how to concentrate on our work or everything? Yeah.
Normally, we have been told one thing, that when there is a negativity, ignore it. Yeah, it is to be ignored. That is at the initial level.
Okay.
But you cannot be continuously ignoring it or avoiding it. You need
this
to.
Is the point. This is the point.
Yes, I got it. So what we need to do is, we have to ignore it to such an extent that it is not sticking on you.
Okay.
But we need to counter it by putting again back our positive force in that, which means you have to understand the other person why he or she is negative and what is that content of negativity which he or she is putting in the workspace.
Okay.
So you counter it by putting the counter of it.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, then actually it slowly balances. It initially takes little time. Anyone who is starting the work for the first time, in order to attract and bring the network of the other side to your side, it takes little time, but slowly it forms and it creates its own network, and then slowly the other side gets dissolved.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Like they say that sometimes the negativity does it. But how can one, they say that each one is himself a seed which can convert into a plant. How can one start generating positivity at first home, then office, and then the environment where one is working?
Yeah. Need to identify what is negative inside us. What is negative inside us? When we lose our peace, when we lose our calm, when we lose our cool. So next time when things happen and when we are going to lose our cool, find out why or what makes you lose that cool. So what happens is you conquer 50% of losing that cool by putting the thought that I don't want to lose. You may be still 50% below, you'll be still agitating below. But what happens is there is at least a portion in you which is thinking that I should not lose the cool. Slowly, slowly, when you expand this, the agitating part actually becomes minimized. As a result of which they all go away. Which means when the negativity comes, in order to bring the positivity, we need to identify where negative things are there and how we are reacting to that negativity and creating that negativity inside us. So stop identifying the actions which you will be doing. If there is a particular thing which is creating negativity, by which one may shout or one may lose the cool, don't lose the cool. And then expect the same situation when it is going to happen the next time. You feel that you will not be able to get stuck by that. You will be able to come out of it. If you start feeling it, then you can slowly change it.
Then we have Shriya Agarwal. She wants to ask the question directly.
Yeah, please.
We are unmuting her.
Yeah.
And meanwhile,
Hello.
when Mr. Yes.
Hello, yes.
Hello, very good evening, sir.
Yes, very good evening.
It was very nice to hear. So my question is that, sir, it is very easy to create positivity. Sir, I have been trying this. So for 10 days, I remain positive. 10 days is very good number for me. But sir, it is becoming very hard to continue that because if something happened, I lose my temper and then again I think, no, that was wrong. But that flow of 10 days, just in few seconds, it get disappeared and I was like, it's useless to do all these things. So how to maintain that flow?
There is, even in this observation of yours, there is another positivity, which means you are at least conscious of when you are losing that negativity, when you are losing that positivity, and what makes you negative. That point can be caught. And then slowly start changing it. Initially, you might have been positive for 8 days or 7 days. Now you are able to be positive for 10 days. Only on the 11th day you are losing it. What is it that is triggering you to become negative? What happens normally is that a portion of the being, either the mind, the emotion, or the skills of the body, any one of these is able to react positively. Only the other portions they are not able to do it. So you catch hold of the thing which is positive. Even if you think that something has hit you and you have become negative, there is one portion in you, by observing that there is something negative that has happened, that means his mind still positive, not getting affected by that negativity. So slowly move it to the next level of the emotion. Then slowly move it to the next level of the sense. Slowly move it to the level of the body. So what requires in all these things, physical exercises and yoga, they help a lot. There are a lot of techniques, there are a lot of methods of breathing, exercises, aerobic and so on. If you keep doing all those things, all the levels of your being, from the body to the sensory.
I keep reading books, and while reading such books, I'm very good. Very peace of mind is there. But the moment I stop them, and after 2 to 3 days, everything is gone. And
that means at the that means at the mental level you are peaceful, because mind can withstand that positivity and control it and sustain it. At the body level, at the emotional level, it is not that. You need to start practicing at the emotional level as well as the sensory level and at the body level.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Shreya wants to say that the books are the best friends, and that is what helps her to bring peace. Abhishek Thapa, when you are in a profession other than that of a personal desire and choice, and you cannot change the field, then how to overcome such negativity from being a hindrance in peace of mind, and how to move positively further?
This is also another question which I used to tackle in the professional ethics. There are some students, when I teach the clinical paper, professional legal ethics, under the Advocates Act, they say that, no, advocate profession is very difficult to handle. We are not able to do anything about that. So I don't want to get into it. So I used to tell them very clearly, if you can't change it, then don't fight with it. You just take care of your profession first in the way you want to take care of it. If you don't want to do it, then you have to choose some other profession. But all that you need to understand is, you need to develop the necessary skills to change the very professional scale itself, which is not currently with us. Only the ideas are coming to you. Oh, this profession can be changed like this for the better, as a result of which I'm losing the case. So slowly what you should do is, you should start working it out, how to change the profession. There are so many, if you see recently, in the last 10, 15 years, I'm seeing so many law students are starting what is called policy think tanks. Very interesting, because those are the people who are very good in legal thinking, who are very good in profession, but at the same time they are not getting into the profession. Rather, they want to change the profession by bringing certain amendments, by bringing certain policy measures, and they suggest the government through drafts and so on. So if that can be an option for you, you can take it. If judiciary can be an option for you, see, law as a legal profession, it has so many things, just not only litigation and judiciary, it has so many things. It has legislature, it has public service, it has even local self-governance, which I used to teach. So many things are there under law, the spectrum of law. It is you who have to choose. Don't just stick to one thing and then keep fighting with other when you cannot change and you lose the peace. You can change the direction of it. And then, or if you think that you still want to fight and change it, yes, do it. You will be the pioneer in doing it. Absolutely fine.
Mr. P. Brakan, he doesn't ask a question, but he says that I'm quite impressed by you, and he had an opportunity to meet you once in Sedapet, Chennai. It is nice to connect with you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Now, so once we ask that, as we are about to wind up the session, because not many questions are coming, probably you have the issues which were bothering in the minds of the person, where the mind and the brain, there was any conflict. It seems that you have quite resolved them. Okay. We have one Anju Sharma. She's an advocate in Punjab Haryana High Court. I will unmute her because she has been actively participating in our webinars. Anju Sharma, she will like to ask a question. Oh, yeah. She's also a trained mediator of Punjab Haryana High Court.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yes.
So for a trained mediator to have higher values, peace and ethics is a fundamental thing. So being a lawyer, being a mediator, as well as now understanding these nitty-gritties, she will have much better things to do in the profession, though she's already excelling in that. Over to Anju.
Yeah.
Anju?
Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. Hello.
Yes, I can.
Good evening, sir. Hello.
Anju, it's audible.
Hello.
The bandwidth.
How are you? Hello.
Anju, you can post the question on the chat box. The audibility is a problem at your end.
Hello.
Yes, Anju, you can continue.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, continue.
Is it audible?
Yes, it's audible.
Audible. Oh. Sir, it is only that as a mediator, how should we deal with it? Whatever you are saying, that's fine, but exactly what is the thing you will suggest mediate while dealing with clients? That is.
Okay, yeah. These higher values, peace and ethics.
Yeah, Anju, we have got the question. You can mute yourself. Dr. Professor K. Parameswaran has understood the question, that how to maintain the balance as a mediator and if there is any conflict. Yes, Professor Saab.
Yeah, the most important thing is that for this ADR which is picking up, you cannot avoid higher values, peace and ethics. Because in ADR, any form of ADR, be it mediation, conciliation, arbitration, whatever be the methodology that you take in ADR, we deal with clients, we deal with causes where socio-psychological issues are involved that comes to the fore, in which the person who is dealing, the mediator or the arbitrator, he comes very close with the client and the cause, in which he is able to see certain things which are intangible in nature, which otherwise in a court setting or any other setting would be difficult, or it can be created, but with the existing structure of things and the backlog of cases and the time management which is going on, it may be difficult. But with ADR or mediation or whatever be the nature of it, we have to understand these development of these higher values and the application of these higher values, peace and ethics is the most important, because we get to see the other side of the client other than the social and the economic of how he has handled it. So the question that comes naturally to us, mediator should have these higher values first, and that can come only by practice, and that practice needs to be done on a daily basis, and the daily basis practice requires some amount of knowledge which can come from reading those materials, which I will give it to all of you, and then start practicing it with the help of various exercises which are normal, because these are subjective things, these are intangible things. Mind we know, thinking we know, rationality we know, but peace, how do we get to know? Emotion we know, but what about the strength behind that and how the empathy is going to act? How do we know? Senses we know, but how do we know the skills? How do we know the gracefulness in accepting oneself and gracefulness in accepting others, and the interaction between the client and the professional? Those are all intangible subjective things. That can come only when we start thinking subjectively and acting subjectively and feeling subjectively. Somewhere we need to make this fundamental shift, moving from the ordinary reality, moving from the ordinary personality, moving from what we know as our personality, which is mind, emotion, will and body. We need to move to a different level. We need to move to a higher level. That can come only by thinking about it. That can come only by feeling about it. Some amount of knowledge and reading materials are required, but it needs to be followed by, like what our advocate Vikas Chatrat also told, that the power of visualization, the power of thinking and imagination and so on. That's how we need to start. Once you start that, once you enter into the inner domain, once you enter into the inner zone of your own mind, of your own emotion, of your own senses and the body, the other person will immediately feel. And your communication, you will be using the same words, you will be using the same interactive points, but the impact of that communication and expression will be different, because there is an added energy, there is an added impetus from behind which enters and then moves.
I take a step further. What?
Thank you, sir.
Ma'am Anju has said, how to, because once you do mediation, I am also a trained mediator. Once you are doing the mediation part, invariably the parties are at an agitated state of affairs when they enter at the first time. How to bring calmness within their minds and how to demonstrate that they should repose faith, etc., and then move on towards the this mediation process.
Yeah, this is how, unless and until you initiate in yourself first. That's exactly what I told very clearly. The ordinary mind is there, then the qualities of peace are there. But the qualities of peace as skills are coming through witnessing. When the client is coming before you in the mediation, he is so agitated about a particular cause. You distance yourself, you separate yourself, you withdraw yourself from that. At the same time, do not cut off. It is a slight, subtle mechanism that happens in the mind and the emotion. You start doing it, it happens. There is no other way to learn this unless and until you start somewhere at one point of time. So, as I have said that I give you some materials, and these are certain training programs which we do on a say for a day or two or something like that. We go step by step of how to do that. So I can demonstrate if you organize some training program or something.
So
like
you
that.
can share some of your PPTs on the chat box, and you can also WhatsApp to me, because we are having a large number of WhatsApp group. We can
Yeah.
post it on the post it on that,
Certainly, certainly. I will.
because once they are well read, and then next time you come on the platform, it gives them then the insight.
Yeah,
Because rather than coming raw, it's better that they are somewhat better, and then the only issue would be left of chiseling them in the better frame of mind.
yeah, certainly, certainly.
So we had a wonderful session. We couldn't have thought, like we were all talking about the legal aspects. Like tomorrow we have Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran from the famous law firm of Lakshmi Kumaran Siddhidhanan. He will be taking us to, upon his core specialization is tax, as we all know. So we had requested him. We have been taking different sessions by different professionals. Invariably on a weekend, we try to bring in, just like we brought you on the platform for higher values, peace and ethics. And then we had called for how to write, how to speak better. Then we, how to do mediation and professionally better. So that in a week, we get a relaxed frame of mind rather than always doing professionally. Tomorrow, we have a session on goods and service tax, product of collaborative federalism under the Indian Constitution. That is by Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran, the managing partner of Lakshmi Kumaran and Sridharan. We all know that they are one of the top 5 firms in these field. Do join us, and those who want to stay connected for latest updates, we have posted our message on the chat box. You can also follow us upon the Insta page as well as Facebook page, that is Beyond Law CLC, for further updates. And to subscribe to the Beyond Law CLC YouTube channel as well as Sapandhi, you will get the previous videos which we have uploaded. And thank you everyone. Stay connected, stay blessed, and stay healthy. And thank you, sir. Words fall short. The way you churned out the entire process, it's a good, you have given us a trigger point that how the mind has to be settled, how we have to work better, especially in these dark times, how to remain composed, how to sustain the higher values. Higher values are directly proportional to your success, because once you maintain, it looks at the first instance that it's very difficult to sustain higher values because there's a lot of competition. But once you maintain values and ethics, then you win the confidence of the judges. And once you start winning the confidence of the judges, your confidence of making submission is better. And once your confidence of submission is better, then your results are also this. They are all byproduct of each other. That is what I've been able to take from your entire session. It was a wonderful session, sir. Stay connected with us. Your insights, we now understand that once a professor like you is teaching in the Gujarat National Law University, why the students of that university are more composed. This is only one of the universities which inculcates on this process as a subject. No, undoubtedly inculcating on higher values, peace and ethics. Every university, every student, they say, because they say students are the basic foundations for the future. But to have a dedicated subject by a professor like you shows that why they're cut above the rest in certain issues. We can make out they're students of yours. Thank you, sir. Stay connected.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
a lot. Thank you.
Okay.